Hey everyone, Alan with Study Sound Audio here, and today I'm excited to announce the Axure 1.5 update. So this update is taking quite some time to complete, and I'm really excited to share all the details with you guys. In this video, we're going to be going over the new 4-string feature along with some other improvements that we've made. Let's get into it. Alright, so before we dive in, I'm going to show you guys what 4-string sounds like. All right, there you go. Okay, so first up, take a look at the top right hand of the plugin and you'll see a drop-down menu where we have a preset selector switch. So you're gonna have guitar 1, guitar 2, and stereo guitars now inside the plugin. So there's no more loading different instances from different presets. It's all gonna be right here. So now we have stereo guitar capabilities with the main samples and the 4-string samples. Which brings me to my next point, the 4 strings. So if you'll notice here, there is a 4-string display. Whenever you engage a 4-string articulation, you will see the articulation pop up here on the screen. 4-string is a stereo only feature. You can still do 4 strings with guitar 1 and guitar 2, but be aware that they're still going to be in stereo. But that's okay, because if you pan your guitar left or right, then you're going to be fine, as long as you're panning. Okay, so right here we have an updated info tab. It's going to have all the key switches, all the 4-string key switches, and your static articulations. And if you notice that there's these little tooltips that pop up when you hover over each control. And this is just to give you a little bit more of a description of what these buttons do. The power button now mutes the samples. So if you're comparing 2 different guitar takes or 2 different guitar tones and you want to mute one, you can. I'll just show you real quick that in action. Solo these 2 guitar parts. In the previous version of Axer, this button was basically useless, but now we added a mute function to it. It's a simple function, but hey, it works. Next up is we're going to explain a little bit more about the 4-string. So I'm going to go here and show you guys what's going on inside of 4-strings. Okay, so the thing about 4-strings is you're going to have one extra action that you need to take in order to do 4-strings, which is program your string. So you got 1 through 6, and it starts at C# -2 for your 1st string, and then it goes all the way up to the 6th string at MIDI note 6, and that's going to be F# -2. So what you'll need to do is, say you have a note and you want that note to be starting on the 5th string, and that's going to be F -2, and then I'll plug in a key switch right there for that string right underneath the note at the same exact spot. And then you want to make sure you plug in the articulation for that key switch. Now keep in mind that the 4-string articulations are different from the main sample articulations. So you have your main sample articulations right here. This is my key map in Reaper, and that does come with your copy of Axer, the new updated copy. So you have your regular articulations here, but up here, and it's going to be notes 90 through 96 when it starts at F#5 at the 4-string sustain. So whenever you program a 4-string, you say, okay, you want the 5th string, there's your note, and then you come up at the same exact spot right here and you plug in your sustain. Now you don't have to program a sustain for every single note, you just have to program it one time until you want to change to the next key switch. And then this is like a sort of like an octave chord that I'm doing. So the next note is going to skip a string and it's going to be on the 3rd string, and that's going to be on D# -2. I plug that in right there and right there. The first note is on the sustain key switch, and then the second group of notes are going to be on the tap key switch. And that's because I'm doing a sort of like slide function here. I don't want any pick attack on those second notes, so that's why I put a tap there, and also have a slide articulation that happens in between those notes. Keep in mind, when you're doing 4 strings and you're trying to do 2 or more notes, you're going to want to space each note and each string out at least a 64th note in line. So that means you can't program 2 strings at the same exact time. The engine's not going to register which note you want to hit. That's actually good, because if you want to do true polyphonic chords, you're going to have to program it like how a guitar player would actually play it. Whenever you're strumming your guitar down, you get that picking motion, the first note, second note, third note, fourth note, right? You're going to program it the same exact way. That's the only way you're going to be able to get chords to ring out in 4 string. Keep that in mind. Now, I know on the main samples, you can put all the notes on the grid at the same exact time, and then it'll basically strum a chord for you, but it does not work that way with 4 strings. You have to keep in mind that you have to space your notes out and space your strings out depending on how many notes you're hitting. So that's basically the gist of that 4 string, and I do want to show you guys something else. I want to show you a chord. So this part right here, I'm going to turn off the plugins so you guys can hear the DI on this, and we're going to compare the two with the main samples and then 4 string samples. So this is a chord strumming down, up, down, up. So you're strumming the first note, the second note, third note, fourth note, and then when you come back up, you're actually starting from the opposite direction, which is an upstroke. And then you want to start from that last string and then come back up to your 6th string. That's exactly the way I programmed it, the way that you would play it in real life. Okay, now I'm going to let you hear the difference between the 4 string chord and the regular chord. So this is the regular chord on the main samples. Okay, it sounds okay, but you can tell that it sounds kind of thin. And those are the main samples. It doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound that realistic compared to the 4 strings. So now we're going to unmute the 4 string articulations, and now here is the 4 string. See, now it sounds more full, more natural. It has those lower tones to the chord because it's playing on the actual strings. Now with the 4 strings, you're going to get 24 notes per string, and you're going to get the exact tonality of whatever fret or whatever string you're going for. And this is all based around the C tuning. And the reason why we did it this way is so that you can go equally down or up from there and not have any issues. And just make sure that you have your strings spaced out at least a 64th note away from each other. You're going to be able to get true polyphonic chords this way, and there's no overcomplicatedness after that. I mean, that's all you got to do. And another thing I'll point out is that you can use 4 string and main samples together. So if you're programming something and you really want the chords to be 4 string, but all the other notes you don't really care if they're 4 string or not, you can just program mix and match. You can program your regular chords or your regular notes and then program your 4 strings within that, wherever in your performance. Now, whenever you get to a string, when you hit the end of that string's note range, it'll just cut out. So you won't hear any noise whatsoever on those. So if you're programming and you're like, oh man, where's my note at? I'm hitting that string. Well, it's going to cut out if it exceeds the range. I would either try the string below or above it to kind of figure out where you need to be. So what we did for 4 strings to make it a little more simple is the pick attack and chug are combined into one knob, just for 4 strings though. So your pick attack and chug are going to come from this knob. But for the main samples, you're still going to have pick attack. If you're switching from 4 strings to regular strings, just keep your pick attack set to wherever it is, and whenever your performance gets to that part where there's main samples on it, your pick attack's just going to blend in with everything. Oh yeah, there's something else. So if you're moving things around and you don't like the way it sounds or whatever, just double click your knob and it's going to reset you to default. And default 0.33 is what I find to be the best sound for Axure. It's just straight up 0.33 on all the knobs, besides the input, of course. And you also have pinch harmonics. Pinch harmonics are specific to 4 strings, so you're not going to have the pinch harmonics in the main samples. So it's programmed the same way you would do 4 strings. You would just pick your string, whatever string you're doing a pinch on, and then you would plug in your note, and then pinch harmonic key switch is going to be up here at C6, 96. You're going to have every single string of pinch harmonic. So let's say you're doing a pinch harmonic here, and you want that to be on the 4th string. you plug in your key switch right there, your pinch harmonic, and there you go. Now we do have pinch harmonics for every single string, so you're going to be able to get even the lowest string. Now, one thing about the pinch harmonics, you're going to have to program your own vibrato or bends, or you can use a MIDI controller to program that yourself. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much pinch harmonics. All right, so 4 strings is pretty straightforward. You really don't have to do too much other than make sure you program your string and then your 4-string articulation, which everything is listed right here. If you do forget what string does what, with the 4-string key switches and the static articulations. Okay, so another thing I wanted to point out for you guys is the tune function here within Decent Sampler. I don't know if you guys knew you could do this. You can tune your guitar right here. If you want to hear your riff or your composition in a different tuning, you just come here and you set that through semitones. And right here I'm at -1. I actually programmed this guitar part in, I think, C tuning, and I just dropped it down by 1 semitone. And this was really cool because I don't have to worry about transposing it in a different way or, you know, clicking a bunch of different buttons. It's literally just, you know, -1, bam, there you go, you're in a different tuning. So if you guys were wanting to experiment with different tunings, I would check out this tune function here. I would say you can go pretty far down and pretty far up with this without it sounding funky. But yeah, that's pretty much everything with the update. And if you guys are having trouble with the 4 strings, we will be making more videos about how to program riffs and things like that with the 4-string feature. So be on the lookout for that. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for enjoying Axure, giving us a chance. We had a really good year in 2024 and we're looking to do even better in 2025. Also, Axure is coming to Contact in 2025. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter so you'll know about updates for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Happy programming.